Hello and welcome to today's webinar on everything you need to know about ACC within Medtech32. We will touch on subjects such as allocating bulk numbers, parking ACC 45 forms, claiming and payments. So to begin with, let's look at how to allocate bulk numbers. In Medtech32, your practice either has an allocated amount of bulk numbers that all providers can use, or each provider has their own bulk numbers linked to them which is inserted in their individual setup. Using both can result in your ACC claims being rejected, so making sure you use one or the other, not both, will rectify this issue. To add your practice's batch of bulk numbers for ACC 45, go into the Setup menu, so in the Setup and under Location Setting, and then choose your location by double-clicking on it. In the Forms and Forms Number tab, which is the third tab from the top, you'll see the ACC 45 Details section. It is here that we go ahead and we add those ACC numbers, so you can put in the prefix, your vendor ID, and the ACC number where it starts and where it will end. When you're approaching that end number, ACC will notify you that it's about to run out, and so it is up to you as a user to contact ACC and renew these numbers. So if your practice has each provider using their own ACC, so you don't use it as a practice, the individual user has their own, you will need to go into each staff member's individual setup and add this in. So you would close the location setting, still go into your setup menu and click staff and then members. You'll then need to select the individual staff member, so you'll need to do this for each staff member that has their own ACC number. So we can start with Sam Eves. And then you would need to go into the Provider and ACC Forms tab, and you'll see that we also have an ACC 45 Details section. So just like how you would have done it in the location, under Location, you do it in the staff setup in the exact same manner. Put the prefix in, and then when the ACC number starts and when it finishes. So just like if your bulk numbers are going to expire for the practice, the same thing happens for the individual staff member. They will get a message to say that their bulk numbers are about to expire and they need to contact ACC. So now that your batch of bulk numbers are allocated in the right place, we can go over how to create an ACC 45 form. So just close all of these boxes. Typically, an ACC 45 form is used to lodge an injury claim. When this is completed and approved by ACC, you'll get a set amount of treatment for that injury. So an example could be that the patient came in, sprained their ankle, you sent through the ACC 45 form, and ACC said, yep, we'll pay you for 6 treatments, so we'll give that injury 6 treatments. The ACC 45 form can be accessed in 2 different ways in Medtech32. The first is from your toolbar, so if you have it set up in your toolbar, it'll be here. If you would like to have it in your toolbar, all you have to do is go into the window, toolbar, and then setup, and choose the ACC 45 module or icon from the not selected side and move it over to the selected side, and then it will appear at the top like mine's. Alternatively, you can go into module, accidents, and ACC 45 form. So if you're a receptionist, many times the diagnosis is not known to you, and your responsibility is getting the ACC 45 ready for the provider to use. So you might work in a practice where you as the receptionist do it, or the provider does it. So I'm going to talk from a reception's point of view. So what I would typically recommend is that you try and fill as much information as possible. Obviously the injury diagnosis and the work in referral won't be known to you, so in this instance you can park the document. So I'll go through that now. So when you're filling out the form, you can choose the provider that the patient's going to see, their ethnicity and their occupation. You will notice that under the ACC 45 number it says next. What that means is it's taking the next number from the allocated bulk numbers that you've just put in, either in the location or in the individual staff members setting. So that's what it means. And in the injury details part, this is the information that you can capture from the patient. So that's why as a receptionist you can fill this part in, because you can go ahead and ask the patient, you know, what happened. So I'll just go ahead and fill out as much as I can and give an example of how you do it. So Charlene Abbott, she's a European, so I'm going to tick European. She got hurt yesterday and the time of the accident was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was at home, and unfortunately she tripped over a cord that was exposed. So we can just write tripped over cord and sprained ankle. And it did not, so if it involved a moving motor vehicle or was in the public, then you can tick that box. If not, then just leave that. And you would then leave the injury diagnosis and assistance tab blank, because that is what the provider can fill, and exactly the same with the work and referral, leave that blank for the provider. And then the next step that you would do is park the document and then press OK. So the biggest thing that I've noticed as a trainer is that many people are not aware of where to actually access their parked ACC 45 form. What they typically do is they view it from the patient accident module in the accidents and the patient accidents. And typically what happens, if I had to just click on that ACC 45 we just did, it doesn't allow you to unpack it. It just gives you a summary of what we've done. So basically this patient accident is just giving you every single accident that this patient has ever had, as well as the status of it. So if you've sent it over to ACC, what is the status? Is it parked? Is it approved? What are they doing? So over here is a full list of all the claim statuses that will appear in the patient accidents. Is it loaded, completed? So I'll put this list up at the end of the webinar for you to have a proper view, but just note that this is not the place to view your parked document. So the correct place to do that is under module, outbox documents and parked documents. So here you'll get an overview of all the parked ACC 45 forms. So it'll give you the description under the document tab. So over here we can see that Charlene's ACC 45 form is here. So if we double click it, as a provider I can go through, add the diagnosis and unpark it to make it finalize. So I'm going to now put on my provider hat and show you the what a provider would do. So they would come in, open the parked document, and once they've seen the patient they'll know the diagnosis and they'll be able to fill this part in, and also the work referral. So she came in and she had a sprain, so yes, we can diagnose this as a sprain. I should have been more specific and said ankle. And the side was on the left. And then in the work and referral I can say that the type of work that she said she does is medium, so I'm just going to restrict her from any heavy lifting or movement on that left side. And she's unfit for work for 2 days from today. And then once you're okay with it, you've completed it as a provider, you can go ahead and unpack the ACC 45 form. So by removing that tick, you're saying that the ACC form is complete and it's finalized. So you can press OK and it will disappear from the PARC documents and appear in the patient's accidents in its entirety. So you have to put the occupation, which I forgot to do. So now that we know how to unpack an ACC 45 form, the next step is to invoice a patient. So to invoice the patient, make sure that the correct patient is up on the pallet, and all you have to do is either press F9 or go into Module, Accounts, and New Invoice. So the important thing about the new invoice screen is you need to make sure that the provider's name is selected and it's the right provider. So if they saw Dr. Sam Eves, put Dr. Sam Eves. If they saw Dr. Peter Cheesdale, put Dr. Peter Cheesdale. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that the income provider is the same as the provider. It will differ. We've just set it up that Sam gets all of the income if he's the provider, but it could be Sam is the provider and Dr. Peter Cheesdale is the income provider. So don't make sure that that's also correct. And then the service section over here is where you go ahead and add the service. So typically it's an ACC consult. And the amount will populate here as well as the subsidy amount. So this is the amount that ACC, you're claiming for by ACC and what ACC will pay you if the claim is approved. And the next step that you will need to do is make sure that you attach the ACC 45 form that you've just filled out for that patient. So you just press this ellipsis button to search for the accident number, and it's just over here, so you just press OK. And what you're doing is linking that ACC 45 number with that service so that ACC will know that you're claiming based on that injury. And all you got to do is press OK. So once you have invoiced a patient and linked it to their accident, the claim is generated automatically. You don't have to do anything behind the scene. It's done for you. All you will need to do is go into the claims module and preview all your claims before you finalize them and send them off to ACC. So previewing your claims allows you to preview each and every claim so that all discrepancies can be fixed. A common example is that in the invoice you've linked it to the wrong provider, or the NHI is missing, so that's a common reason why ACC will reject it. So if you come across situations like that and you need more time, you can place a claim on hold. So I'll show you all of that now. So what you need to go into Module, Claims, and Preview. So the first thing you'll notice is the preview screen will appear. You can choose if you want to see all your funders or break it down to just ACC. If you work out of different locations, you can just isolate it to your location that you're working in on that day, and as well as all providers, or just you want to see a particular provider. So we'll just say ACC and press OK. And this is what the screen looks like. So over here is a good example of a claim being put on hold. So it appears in italics and blue just to let you know that this is on hold, and when you go ahead and finalize your claim, it won't be processed through. It will stay there as you have indicated that you need more information by placing it on hold. So another claim that I could put on hold is all of these ones that are missing their NHI number, because I need more time to gather that information, so you can place that all on hold until you get that. So if you want to check if the invoice is correct, if you've put in the right provider, the right service code, all you need to do is double click on the invoice and check that the provider is the same and the correct provider, so to speak, and the income provider is correct, as well as the service fee. So this is really your last chance to change any discrepancies that you might find, because once you press finalize, that's it, it's gone through to ACC, and the next time you'll be able to fix it is when they send you a rejection. So when you're happy with all of your claims, all you need to do is go back into module, claims, and then finalize. So the same window will appear. In terms of the funding, you have to choose, do you want it to be all your funders to be sent off, or just your ACC? So if you right click, you can go invert and then just tick the ACC, and you'll notice in the period ending it always defaults to the previous day, but you can override this by selecting the correct whatever date you want, but it always defaults to the previous day, so you don't have to worry too much. And again, just select your location and your provider. If it's just for one or if it's for all, then go ahead and do that. And then you just have to press OK, and that's it, your claim will be finalized. So once you finalize your claim, you will then need to send them off. So they're still sitting in Medtech, so now the next step is to actually send them off to ACC. But before you do that, you need to check that your machine that you're working on has HealthLink installed. So when you go to do it, it will tell you that your HealthLink is not configured correctly, if it's, or that you're in the wrong machine. So you go into utilities and you go ACC and electronic claims. You'll get this window. So the first, in the main tab, you'll have your all non-emailed claims. So that's basically saying, do you want to send every single claim that you've just finalized within ACC? Or do you want to just select a couple and send the others later? So then you can go select claims and then select and then choose the claim that you want to select. So I don't have any claims to select, so that's why it's empty. In the setting tab, you have the printer that this will default to, you have a look back range, and also it tells you the HealthLink folder path that this is configured to. And once you're happy with that, you can press OK, and now all your ACC electronic claims have been sent over via HealthLink. Once you've done that, the next step is to send your electronic forms for the ACC 45. So it's basically the same method of what you've just done to send off your electronic claim. So you go into utilities, ACC, and instead of selecting electronic claims, now you're selecting electronic forms, ACC 45. So a setting window will appear. In the main tab, it will ask you, do you want to send all your forms or do you want to select it? So you can choose which one is applicable for you, and it'll also tell you what printer it'll print off to if you want to print this off. In the settings tab, you will see the path that it's configured to, as well as the ACC web address. So you can connect to the ACC e-lodgement page at any time without even having to process your forms by just selecting the ACC web button at the bottom here. So the important thing to know is that this has to be set up by ACC prior. So if you do click on this button and it's not opening up the ACC e-lodgement page, or you are experiencing any problems, what you have to do is call the ACC provider e-business support team on 0800 222 994 and press option 1, and they'll be able to remote in and configure your correct pathway and help you set up all of this. this page is actually a really good resource to use, especially if you're experiencing any problems with your Medtech directory. An example being that when you go into your ACC 45 status, the claim keeps saying loaded or has not changed to completed, so you're unaware of what the status is of your 45 form. So what you can do is go onto this website and view what's the status of your claim while we fix the problem behind the scene. Alternatively, if you don't want to use the ACC web page, you can still check the status of your ACC 45 form by clicking the ACC 45 status at the bottom here. So if I click that, it will tell you if it's completed or parked. So this is again linked to the status, the different types of status that you could have. So we will now go over allocating a payment of claims to each provider. So typically, once you've sent off your electronic forms and your electronic ACC 45 form, and ACC has approved it, they will pay you that claim. So the next step is to make the payment back to the provider. So when a payment is received for a claim or claims, you need to allocate this money to a provider's account or a funder account. So in Medtech32, each provider will have their own ACC funder account set up, or you might have one account that you use for all your providers. So it just depends on how you work as a practice. So to do that, you will need to search for the account like you would do for a patient. So you can press F2, and typically I have saved all of my providers' accounts as their name. So for example, Dr. Sam Eves will be ACC Dr. Eves. So that's the one over here. And then you just press OK. Straight away it'll tell you in your patient palette how much money is outstanding for that particular provider's account. So you'll know straight away that you should be expecting $104 to be paid from a claim by ACC. But once you make that payment, you can choose which claim it's actually for. So when you go and make a payment, you can either press F8 or go Module, Accounts, New Payment. And you can put the amount. So what typically happens is you'd need to allocate the amount to the claim. So you can go ahead and press allocate, and it will have a list of all the claims that this provider has sent through to ACC. So if ACC had to pay us $52 or $26, we'll know straight away that it's for either this claim or the claim above. So let's just say ACC has paid us $26. What you need to do is put $26 in the amount section here, the method. So you could say it was by direct credit because they usually pay you directly. And then you would allocate that $26 to the claim. So I would click on this and press OK, and it's basically linking the two together. And you'll notice now Dr. Sam Eves just needs $78. So that's how you go about paying a claim. However, you might have a situation where ACC has sent you a letter to say that claim has been rejected and the patient might have to pay for it. So what you will need to do is, with the correct account holder up on the palette, you need to go into Module, Accounts, Account Holder, and click on a claim. So if you don't have any, you can just use your filter to show all the archive ones because it might be hidden in there. So if ACC sent me a claim and said that it was rejected, I would search for the reference number. So let's use the reference number of 318, and I'll double click on it. And let's say that they have rejected Ann Jackson's claim. I would select Ann Jackson's name here and go transfer to patient if the patient needs to pay for it, or I can transfer to the account holder, which could be their employee that's going to pay for it. So either or. Otherwise you can unfinalize the claim and gather the information. So another example could be the reason they've rejected Ann Jackson's claim is because you forgot to add the ACC provider that saw her, or you forgot to add her NHI number. So you can unfinalize it, add that information incorrectly, and resend it. So you have 3 options from this window. So the last thing that I'll go over is a report that you can use to print, which will show you all the outstanding claims or claims that haven't been paid. So to do that, that is under module, claims, and it's called print outstanding. So you can go ahead and select the printer, which funder, do you want it for all or just want to see your ACC, and again if it's for all providers or just a particular one, and press OK, and then that will print off a report of all of the outstanding claims for whatever options you've selected here. So that concludes the end of this webinar. Thank you all for tuning in, and if you do have any questions regarding anything you've seen in this webinar, please feel free to email trainingNZ@medtechglobal.com, and we'll be more than happy to answer your question if you weren't able to view this webinar live. So thank you again and goodbye.